All right, folks, so did you watch last night's leadership debates? Who do you think came out the better debater? Well, we want you to head to our social media pages. Tell us what you think. Television Jam. In the meantime, we're getting expert opinions of Andrew McDaniel, Assistant Lecturer in the Department of Government at the UWI, and Ronald Dino McLean, member of the Jamaican Association for Debating and Empowerment Limited, JADE, they call them. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
Who won for you?
You just want me to say it, or you want me to explain?
We're going to explain, but
Okay.
tell me who won.
I gave the JLP the edge last night, so Andrew Holness.
Ronaldino?
Okay. Well, sorry to be prolonged, but it's a boxing match for me. And if I'm scoring it by rounds, it's 4 of them. And I believe that Mark Golding took 2, and the other one was tied, and Andrew Holness took 1. So obviously Mark Golding, then I would give him the win.
Okay. You did work out that match today? Ronaldino going a long way around, figure we should.
Because
okay.
I understand the
No,
boxing
we got it. We get the analogy. Okay, now you tell me what your reasoning is.
Well, so first I wanted to say that it's difficult sometimes judging these political debates because you'll have adjudicating in a competitive debating context where you're far more objective, you're following primarily the content, and you don't have lots of extra considerations as you do in some of these political debates. In these political debates, you can view the debate through different lenses, through who is strategically more politically effective, who's communicating to their audience better. And that might differ slightly.
Who has the most zingers? Yeah.
Honestly, yes. And maybe who underperformed or who overperformed. So for me last night, Mark Golding overperformed extremely, exceeded many people's, including mine, expectations, and Andrew Holness underperformed.
But he still won.
Indeed, because I don't judge. I tried to put my debate adjudicating lens on, and so I saw a number of issues come up. The corruption issue, integrity issue was front and center. It dominated the debate, but I thought that was basically a wash because although Mark Golding came out swinging, he was strong at the start. I think more in the second half, and Andrew Holness, who was weaker, who seemed dodgy at the start, found his footing, found his strength, and leveled some serious attacks on the credibility of even Mark Golding. So I think both men came to bat on that corruption issue. I didn't decide it either on some of the economic issues because I heard proposals coming from both Andrew Holness and Mark Golding that were interesting to me. So for me, it became a narrow win on some of the social policy issues, interestingly enough. So on building code regulations, on pollution in the Rio Cobre, on national security, I heard clearer, more distinctive policies from the Prime Minister on that issue that separated him from the leader of the opposition.
That was what gave him the edge.
That's what gave him the slight edge for me.
Interesting.
Andrew, I said to Simone this morning that I wasn't surprised what I heard in the debate. So before you explain your reasons, did we hear and get what the people did want to hear and get?
You weren't surprised. I was very surprised. No, I went into this debate, because the social debate, the very first debate, I don't think crime was mentioned any at all. I was expecting a few things on the bingo list for this particular debate, including crimes and human rights violation and police killings. And of course, we expected the matters of the tax income threshold and all these things that we expected for persons to throw at the leaders of the political parties, because these are key talking points in their respective manifestos. So we expected that. But the surprise to me for last night's debate is how much the debate focused on governance, matters of accountability, constitutional reform, and this whole general theme of decolonization. And for me, I loved it, every minute of it, because I went into the debate wondering, why is there such a focus on constitutional reform? And does the average Jamaican prioritize constitutional reform on their agenda when it is that they're going out to vote? But if you look at the lineup of questions asked last night, and you compare it to, say, a question on the tax income threshold, questions on human rights violations, one question on the police, and it was the body-worn camera questions. Yeah? But when you look at that as compared to constitutional reform questions, most questions were targeted at accountability, constitutional reform. I mean, the very first question posed by Dean Jackson Miller was on the matter of accountability oversight bodies. So when I saw that, immediately I sat back and I said, this is going to be an interesting debate because it's a very interesting question, and you could see that even the Prime Minister was taken aback a bit because he couldn't finish the response. He had so much time on the clock, and he only addressed one matter, and it was the Ombudsman.
Which area did you think they tied? You said 2 to Mark, 2 to Mr. Golding, 1 to the Prime Minister, and 1 tied. Which area you thought they tied?
I thought they tied in around the second segment, and for one reason and one reason mainly. I thought the Prime Minister began the debate slow in terms of how he responded to the questions, because he started addressing the whole issue issue of 28 bank accounts. And I want to identify the persons that when you look at the lineup of questions asked last night, the only time it was posed as a sort of question was in the final question asked by Mr. Golding. But before that, none of the questioners or social media posed a question about 28 bank accounts. So I believe it was a good strategy by the PNP to kind of mention it. And they kept mentioning it in the second segment. But Mark Golding had the opportunity to clarify the PNP's position on a lot of matters in the second segment. But he had a strategy in which he used his time of rebuttal to kind of rebut the previous question, if you understand. So his method, if you remember that. So he used rebuttal for a question to rebut a question that came before. And what happened is that he ran out of time. So let's use even the matter for the PNP frustrating the constitutional reform process. When it is that Mr. Holness was asked, or Dr. Holness, when it is that he was asked about the whole idea of the CCJ becoming the final appellate court and it being a phased process through the CRC, the current CRC, it was then that Mr. Golding had the opportunity now to clarify the PNP's position on why it is that they're going to bat for having the CCJ as a final appellate court. But because he was almost 20 seconds after 45 seconds to rebut the previous question, he never had that much time to clarify the position.
So they say debates are judged on manner, method. Manner, matter, method, right? We hear folks saying, you know, Mr. Golding appeared composed, depending on the timeline and who you agree with and what your thoughts are, because I'm so curious about how the timeline is split. Folks saying Dr. Holness appeared angry at times, especially when there was mention of his wife, who's also a politician, right? So some people say that was fair game. What were your thoughts in those three categories? Manner, matter, which is content, and then the method, which is stylistic, the anger, the forcefulness, the laid back. What was your thoughts?
Right.
What were your thoughts?
Another alliterative framework that basically maps onto that is substance, style, and strategy.
Right.
So I think the two previous debates for me were more decided on style and strategy because I didn't hear as much policy discussion in the economic debate or in the social debate as I heard in this debate. So I was actually pleased, I was equally pleased to see some of the discussion that I heard coming out in this final debate. That being said, I agree, Mark Golding was excellent on his style last night. He showed up, he was strong, he was confident, he was on the attack on especially those issues of integrity, which his party has been beating that drum for a year in the politics at this point. And I think he was able also to present himself as kind of relatable. He settled that issue of his Jamaican-ness for lots of people, and he talked about his father a lot and, you know, endeared himself to the heart of many Jamaicans last night.
Do you think that's a feature of folks just thinking he was going to underperform? I mean, he's a lawyer. He's always been well spoken.
Yeah, I think, and he was also an excellent legislator too as well.
Right.
I mean, he's been in the parliament speaking, but I think a part of the reason is the campaign trail.
Right.
So both parties have been campaigning since the top of the year. As a matter of fact, they've been campaigning since the middle of last year. And I think on the campaign trail, there is an element of relatability where political representatives will want to present themselves as being one of us, essentially. And how they'll do this is that they'll kind of mix the English language with Jamaican Creole at times. And when they do this, persons believe, and they're gesturing and they're posture too as well. When they do it, the persons kind of attach this sort of informality to how they present themselves. So going into this debate, everybody saw Mr. Holness as an excellent orator, forgetting the fact that Mr. Golding as well too was also a legislator and also an excellent attorney.
And you think he benefited from that?
Yeah, well, he benefited from that.
Question to you both, because we are running out of time, and this is for the overall debates, the 3 nights. Who like JLP go and vote for JLP, and who like PNP go and vote for PNP?
Yes.
Having seen all of
a lot of people saying that they were swayed last night.
All of the debates put together, you think people say, no man, I'm going to go with that man now, or I'm going to go with that man now, from what they've seen in the debates? Do you think that would have not necessarily changed somebody's mind, but somebody decided to say, yeah man?
So I'm using empathy here. And I was very convinced last night. So when I was sitting there, I was
were not?
I was convinced. So I sat there and I'm like, do I need to change my vote? But here's the thing about the tiers of voting in Jamaica, is that we vote for MPs and of course persons is a sort of surrogate vote for the leader.
Right.
So quite frankly, a man might like his member of parliament and not necessarily support a particular political leader, right? But last night, you might think to yourself that who do I want to lead the nation based on some of the issues addressed here? And how convincing are the arguments proposed here? And who is more clear on their policy and their direction for Jamaica in the next 4 or 5 years, right? And if you look at the debate last night, you might think to yourself, which one is more consequential, voting solely for the MP or voting for the leader of the political party?
Same question.
Yeah, I take a slightly different view on the impact of last night in particular, because I think a lot of I think a lot of Mark Golding's success last night came on this issue of integrity and corruption, but I'm not sure exactly, having seen some of the poll findings on this, I'm not sure that that's a decisive issue for many Jamaicans. I think most Jamaicans, quite frankly, think that both sides are corrupt in lots of ways, and they want to see what each party is going to do to improve their lives. And like I said, on lots of the key substantive policy issues last night, I thought Andrew Holness came up on top. Nevertheless, I think if you ask people who they decide who won or lost on these debates, have been basically along party lines for so many Jamaicans, so that it has strengthened, it has solidified the intentions of lots of people in the voting basis of each side to go out and vote. I'm not sure how many undecided voters they've swung. I'm interested to see what people think about that debate last night. Definitely for the first two, I don't think that swung many people. But ultimately, I keep saying that sometimes some of these debates are just both parties showing up and trying not to make a misstep rather than, seeking to gain any kind of serious political advantage.
What about the questions? Were you pleased with the questions that were asked?
Right? Very pleased. As a lecturer in government, you'd imagine I'd be very pleased when I hear matters of constitutional reform. As a matter of fact, this debate itself is a content piece for analysis for many classes.
Absolutely.
Because
And the social media questions were good too.
Social media questions were very good too as well.
Yeah.
Looking at the whole issue of accountability, I'm like, there's a sort of address here as regards to democracy in Jamaica. And it's a big issue. And I thought that they would have focused more on economy and crime, but here we are now focused on
What does it tell
justice
you
reform.
as a lecturer? What does it say about the questions that weren't asked? So I hear a lot of people talking about the fact that throughout the debates, crime hasn't really been a thing.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Jamaicans are settled on the point of crime being addressed?
No.
And does that work in favor of the JLP?
I don't think they're settled, but I think they're content in the position that we are because there's a reduction in major crimes right now. And both leaders addressed this last night in the sense of there's a reduction. If the reduction is to continue into next year, that's something for us to see. But it's not on the agenda currently because of the reduction. But crime is still a big issue. So I wonder how it was to address because we still need to identify long-term crime fighting strategies. So I'm wondering why it hasn't been addressed as yet. But maybe we're not thinking about long-term, we're just thinking about what can quell crime right now.
Yeah. I found it interesting, and I'm happy that if it even go down by one single death, I am happy.
Yeah.
But when we say we want to get it down to 800, and I hear people saying, it's more than 2 people a day being killed in Jamaica.
Right. Yeah, but
At
it's
800.
relative. It's
No, that's my point. So I want to see it come down, but I think
we're not in a good place.
Not only that, but the way we speak about it. So if it come down back to 800, no, you want it come down as much as it can to 0, really.
Yeah.
So we don't want to applaud 800 because it's plenty people, families, communities that mash up because of that. So you don't want to applaud that.
I am supremely encouraged by you two gentlemen.
Yep.
It's really encouraging to see 2 young men so fully plugged into the process, and I see a lot of you. I think this demographic is going to be game changing in the upcoming general elections because a lot of young people getting involved. And before we go, Andrew, you said you heard this on the way down. Latest Blue Dot pollings are out, folks, and according to the latest Blue Dot findings, Holness's favorability is up 47%, Golding's is up 30%, JNP favorability is up 45%, and the PNP's favorability is up 32%. Make of that what you will.
We spoke to Jermaine, and I asked him who he thought would win the election. And he said he wanted to wait until the final debate. I'm not asking you who you vote for or who you want to win, but from what you have heard, what you see on the ground, who do you think might come out on top?
Well, I'm interested to see the rest of these Blue Dot poll numbers. I know with the Don Anderson findings that we saw just the other day, I identified the momentum as being with the Jamaica Labour Party, only because we saw the PNP's lead shrinking from last year.
What do you think?
Yeah, the PNP has a very difficult task to flip 18 seats. It's 18 seats, and that's the big challenge in this election. So if they can't flip that, but the challenge is that we don't think that they can flip it. So I won't determine a winner at this stage, but I can identify the challenge that they have in flipping it.
They say, though, a day in politics is a long time, and there's still a week to go. So.
A little less than a week. Andrew McDaniel, Assistant Lecturer in the Department of Government at UWI. and Ronaldinho McLean, who can't juggle a ball, member of Jamaican Association for Debating. And then
You make the same joke every time.
Every time. Old jokes, old jokes. Thank you, gentlemen. Very well done. We'll take a break on Smile. There's more after this.